Boom. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Streaming went up. And now we wait. That just went up. Midterm 2 details. Dropbox. Follow-up question. Do 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 do. Okay. All right. I'm gonna close my window so I don't have that glare. Alright, I hope this isn't too loud. I'm actually gonna pop open the live stream and just see what I sound like. So, test. No, that's not too bad. It's a little loud, but I'd rather you guys turn yourself down than me turn myself up. Do 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 do. Then again, if you guys really don't like it, you just let me know. I turn it down. That's how I work. I'm getting complaints about bitrate from my recorder. It should automatically be adjusting the bitrate though, so I don't see why it's complaining. Doot, doot, doot. Yeah, my output scaled resolution does suck. I will change that for a future stream. There's nothing I can do about that now. Okay, so I will lower the bitrate and the stream later. Yeah, can anyone in chat? I don't see anyone in chat. Hello. Bonjour. Juhi Shah. Yeah, this is going to be a fun tutorial, I hope. I also hope the latency isn't unbearable. I mean, there's not much I can do about the latency, but I've been having a lot of internet issues as of late. Where does it look best? The hardest part of live streaming, getting the webcam to look good. Can point a little bit lower. Try and reduce the amount of glare that's coming from my ceiling light. So you guys, through Avenue, should have access to all 3 of the following files. Limerick is pretty short. Silly words, I mean, it's only 51 lines, but still, that's a bit annoying. And this Python file I also uploaded. So you guys should have access to all of the files for this tutorial through official channels, that is. Really hoping this is coming through cleanly. Can I just, can someone in chat just be like, I can hear you or not? That would be really nice, because if it's frozen, I need to know. Because that, from what I'm seeing, when I go on YouTube and watch the actual live stream, it's not that bad. Okay, I've got an I can hear you, so that's pretty nice. Okay, we can hear you. Good, good. That's what I'd like to hear. Okay, it's just going to be better if I pop out the chat, apparently. So Streamlabs OBS implemented this new way to see the live stream chat, like an actual proper YouTube window in the live stream. It's garbage. The latency is really crap. So I'm just going to go back to the way I was doing it. Also, I'm using something called a voice meter for my microphone today, so it allows me to do some really cool things. Like if I want echo. But I don't want echo. No one wants echo. Who would want echo? Yeah. I thought it'd be cool. It also lets me play audio through my microphone and stuff like that. This is a dangerous power. But I have a feeling that you guys would want the best audio quality I can give you, and Voice Meter Banana has been really growing. I have no use for Voice Meter Potato, so I'm sticking with Banana. But yeah, you guys deserve good audio. Also, I would like to point out, Nick did use the word dank in an official piece of media for this tutorial. Whether this makes him cool or lame is up to you to decide. I just thought it would be funny to point out. 1 more minute to tutorial start. If you guys have questions, don't be afraid to ask. I always start my tutorials ridiculously early, and I always let them go to the last second, so... And then I have office hours immediately after this, which I may cut short, depending on how many people show up, purely because I have a midterm today, and I would like to study for that. Doesn't mean I'm going to skip the office hours, though. I am contractually obligated to hold office hours for you guys. Okay. Watch the moment I go to start this, because 4, 3, 2, 1, live stream crash. No. Alrighty, ladies and gents, it is 11:30. Those of you who want to be here should already be here. Those of you who don't want to be here, well, you're not going to hear this anyways, so what does it matter? This is going to be a short tutorial because it's going to be focusing on you guys asking questions a lot. However, I do have to teach you some basics, so I'm going to start by teaching you the basics. I'm going to teach you the long way and the short way, and then I'm going to tell you to always use the short way because the short way is cleaner. We're going to be looking at files today, hence the video pun, the video title pun. But so yeah, we're going to be looking at opening files, parsing the data inside, and writing files, scanning the data. So this really big list of data, we're going to parse it and return a single value. Just your basic work, except with files. And there are two ways to open a file in Python. There's with open and close, the long way. However, there is a much better way called with. Now, with is a automatic closer. You can open a file, and without having to do all of the work to close it, Python will just automatically close it for you. It is most definitely recommended to use with, but if you want, you could do file equals open, let's say in file with read, and then you could do file.close. This is 100% and totally valid. However, it is much, much better to use the following syntax. With, open, and so in file is a string that contains the file name, so that's why I'm using the variable here. If you didn't have a variable, you could just do like in file.txt. That's however you want to do it. I have a string. The method you want to open it as variable. So now it creates a file, puts it in this variable, and will automatically close it when you're done. This is very clean, very nice, very, very straight to the point. Some of you may be curious as to what options you get for this R here and what this R may mean. This R is your input type. So R stands for read. However, you can also write to a file. You can do R+, which is read and write. R+ is the same as W. There's a W+, and there is an A. We will never ask you guys to work with A. So A just stands for access, though. You can Google these online. For the most part, you're either going to be doing R, or if you want to do writing, I would recommend using W+. I know it's weird, but it's just helpful to think of it like that. So you could call this variable whatever you want. You could call it F, you could call it file, you could call it variable. Just making sure. You guys still with me? I hate when the chat's really quiet because it makes me feel as if maybe the stream died or something. And I just it's a little awkward, you know? At least in a tutorial I can see all of you sleeping in person as opposed to wondering if I'm even coming through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my input file, my limerick.txt, into this variable f, and I'm going to save its contents into another variable so I can treat it as if it was just some array of content. So some of you may be asking, well, how do you do that? Well, if you ever have a question, one thing that the TAs have been interested in teaching you is use Google. So that's one thing I want to bring up. I'm going to add a window capture for my browser. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to add the source and automatic. All right. So you guys should be able to see a browser now. And all I'm going to do is Google how to read from a file, because you guys need to get used to using Google, because at the end of the day you may not have a TA to answer your questions. So how to read file contents with Python. Nice, quick, simple Google search. How to read a file. Python tutor. I always love Python tutor. Boom, right there. With open file name as f, content equals f.readLines. Woo! That's pretty cool. Let's try that. Content equals f.readLines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print content to see what it actually has in it. So this will let me see if it will ever load what content is. And boom, it is an array of every line in the file. If we open Limerick, a programming genius called Hank. What's the first item in my array? A programming genius called Hank. What is the second item? Wrote system to access his bank. Wrote a system to access his bank. And notice it keeps the new line character. This is very important. You will need to chop off the new line character when you go to use write, because I'm pretty sure write does not care for this new line character. But either way, we now have our content from the file. So there's step one. Step one, read the file. We are done. Woo! It is red to classify that it is complete. 2, we're going to prepend the line number followed by a tab character to each of these strings. I can't see what you're doing. Ha! I didn't close the browser source, did I? Wow. We should all kill me. Boop! I'm an idiot. Okay. Wow. How much do you guys hate me right now? I'm gonna just zoom in and redo that. So content equals f.readLines. I've just printed the content. I ran the code. And boom. If I bring up the limerick for a side-by-side comparison, programming genius called Hank. If you look up here, programming genius called Hank wrote a system to access his bank. Line 2 is wrote a system to access his bank, etc., etc. Wow. I pulled a big idiot. Alrighty. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. You guys won't kill me. You don't know where I live. By the way, funny story, since I do have time. One of my friends, without me telling him where I lived, found my address and sent me Fanta. I'm just saying that happened. I thought you guys might appreciate that. I have barely anyone to talk to. But, that's just something you guys can ponder. So now I'm going to go over every line. Because remember, content is an array of every string. However, notice how it says prepend line numbers. So I want the line numbers. So there are 2 ways to get the line number. I could do some sort of index in range len content shenanigans. I could do that. However, there's another thing I want to teach you guys. I want to teach you guys the enumerate function. Enumerate is an absolute gem of a function. What it does is it returns a tuple of index and then item. Whoops, someone has asked a question on Piazza. I have my phone literally explode when you guys ask questions on Piazza, so I can answer them nice and quickly for you guys. However, enumerate, if we look at this description, because I use VS Code, you can see a description of all of the things. Notice how the index starts at 0, but line numbers start at 1. Well, it'd be really nice if I didn't have to do I plus 1. It would be nice if I could do start equals 1. And I can do that. So now I have I, which you could also think of this as line number, and then I could have this be line content. I'm going to make these variables nice and self-explanatory so you guys can really understand what it's doing. So now what I need to do is I need to override the line content. And what is the new line content? Well, the line content now becomes a line number, a tab, and then the original line content. It adds the prepend number, followed by a tab character, to the original string. If you guys don't know what this is called a F string. It is a format string. If you guys do not like format strings, here is the long way of writing this. Equals string line number plus a tab character. Oops, and then plus line content. This also works. However, it is longer and, in my opinion, less pretty than this. You guys choose whichever way you like to write it. I'm going to go with format strings. I find them cleaner, you know? So now line content has been saved as a new thing. However, it's not actually changing in content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do new content as an array, and all I'm going to keep doing is new content append line content. So what this has done is it's taken all of the original limerick items and it's created a new array containing the actual what we want. So what do we have to do now? So we can mark this as complete. What's step 3? Write it to a second file. Oh boy. How do we do writing? Welcome back, Google Chrome. We've missed you. Python, how to write to a file. We go ahead and Google it. I know how to do it. Here's W3 Schools, another great resource for asking questions. Here's an explanation of A and W as well. Really helpful. A appends to the end of an existing file, not access. I always get those two mixed up. W overwrites the entire file. So if you have a file with content in it, it will say, bye, Felicia. And here you can see it uses .write to write individual strings. However, I don't know if I want individual strings. So what if because we remember the original function was called write or read lines. What if there's a write lines? Ooh, there's a Python write lines method. This is more like what we want. It's a string and then another string inside an array. Well, that's what we just did. New content is an array. So let's go ahead and close this Google. Hey guys, look, I remembered. And what we're going to do is we're going to prepare for file writing. So what we're going to need to do, again, with open, and we're going to use our out file this time. Again, this is a variable passed into the function. And we don't care what's in it, so we're going to use write as f. Again, the variable f is on the table because with automatically cleans f. So once this with block ended, f no longer exists for the rest of the code. So f is free for us to use again. And what I'm going to do is f.write lines new content. So before I run this, does anybody want to hazard a guess as to why I'm a little bit hesitant? As to why I don't think this is going to work exactly the way that we expect? I want to see if anyone can if you guys don't know, then that's fine. So, do I have the original? I don't have the original code, so I can't pull it back up. You guys are staying silent, so no one wants to hazard a guess. So I'm going to write it, and we'll see if that makes it a bit clearer as to why I'm not happy. Huh, that actually worked. So what I was concerned about is read lines keeps the new line character, but if we Yeah, I will come back to that. So the thing I was concerned about is in the Google, you can see that there is no new line character at the end of each string. So I was worried that it might accidentally create empty line breaks. It looks like it didn't, so we're completely fine. Someone wanted me to go over why for line number and for line content. It's because I'm using enumerate. Take a look at this bottom line of the text box that just showed up. Enumerate creates an index and a item at that index. So it's really helpful because it will automatically give you these numbers. However, you still have a variable with the content in it. If I just did, so let's say you guys are more familiar with for I in range len content. So this is what I basically was doing. Content at I equals, and I'm using an F string again, I plus 1 for the line number, T, content at I. However, if you guys don't want to use content at I, say you want a variable just called C, in which is equal to C at I, or content at I, kind of like this. Enumerate lets you do this without having to modify the insides of your loop. So all enumerate has done is it said this is an index I, and then this is the content of the string. Does that make sense? I just want to introduce you guys to enumerate because a lot of the times for loops are cleaner when you have both the content or the variable in the index as well as a number representing it. If I wanted, I could make that number anything. So I could have the numbers start at 10, and if I run the code again and look at result, this goes 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, but the items don't change. This text never changes. It's just whatever this index is, it starts here and starts counting up. It's a neat function, but you guys don't have to ever use it. I just wanted to introduce it because you guys might want to use it. Okay. Is there anything else related to this one before I move on? Also, I'm going to make that red because we completed it. I don't see any questions yet. I'm really hoping I'm not really far behind for you guys. It's just a little unfortunate because you guys aren't responding as much as usual. So I don't know if there's a delay, right? From my point of view, this is going maybe differently from what you guys are experiencing. I'm going to have to assume you guys are caught up and just aren't talking, and I'm going to move on to silly words. God, I hope you guys are caught up. So, silly words. What is a silly word? Well, I gave you guys a clean little description in a triple quote because I thought it would be helpful. The input file is a table structured like so. It really isn't, but you can think of it like a table. We're good? Okay. Someone has made a call. I hope that's not a bad indication that you guys are like 5 minutes behind. I really hope you guys are as close with me as possible. So, yeah, you can picture the contents of the .csv file as if it were a table. Name, usage, rating, the royal assent. Name, usage, rating, royal assent. So because this is a .csv file, and I don't really want to do shenanigans, because I don't need to use the CSV library. This just makes it prettier. I've stated that outright. Remember, you guys have function to stuff like .split, and all you could just pass in like, oh, content.split like that. You could do stuff like this. It's ugly. The CSV library already does a lot of this stuff for you. Even when I hover over the CSV library, you can see CSV file with something like line.split, blah, blah, blah. This is really helpful. It just does a lot of the work for you. So, let's get to coding, shall we? Step 1. What do we do as step 1? This is going to be how I test how far you guys are. I want to see what the delay is by asking, what is step 1 of this question? If I have an input file and I need to get data from it, what do I do? And if this ends up taking more than like 10 seconds, I'll answer it myself. It's just, I'm using this to test the delay. Open the file! Yes, okay. Delay is not unbearable. That's all I needed. So, let's open the file. Like I said, I will always be using with. I like with. With is nice, it's clean. What is our file? Well, we pass in a file variable. Notice how file is highlighting red. File is actually a Python keyword. So I'm going to use infile just for zero ambiguity. And we're going to open it with reading permissions. I'm going to open it as the variable f. And what do we want to get from it? Well, what is the question asking us for? We need to identify a word, and we need to remember this word. So perhaps, maybe, it might be worthwhile to have a variable called funniest word or silliest word already initialized. And we also need a score, right? Each word has a score, so we need a lowest score, or a score. Well, what do we initialize the score to? When working in questions where you have max and mins, but you don't know what the max or min could be, there is actually a thing that's very helpful. From math, import, I think it's just called infinity. I don't remember. What do we do? Well, let's bring up Google. Python math.infinity. infinity in Python, representing an infinite number. -inf. Okay, so there's already a keyword just called inf. There's also a math.inf. This is the inf that I was expecting. This is really helpful when you guys are working with minimums and maximums, because there is nothing bigger than infinity and there's nothing smaller than negative infinity. So what I'm going to do is negative math.infinity. So now I have the lowest possible score. So when I find a word, it will always have a score bigger than negative math.infinity. After that, we don't know. Next, we've opened the words, and what do we want to do? We need to save it to some sort of content, right? Some sort of line by line funsy doos. Well, because we're using CSV, I'm going to ask CSV to give us a reader. Notice how my VS Code even knew, like, you're using CSV, have a reader. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to print content. I don't know what a CSV reader returns, so I'm going to go ahead and run the code so I know. Well, that's not helpful, is it? It returns a CSV reader object, so I'm going to just do a basic, this is called list comprehension. I'm going to go over every item in the object. I'm going to turn it into a list and print that list. Uh-oh. IO closed the file before I could access something. That's something you guys do need to consider. CSV works a bit differently. The CSV reader gets closed inside this with. Uh-oh. Which means all of the code we write, unfortunately, will have to be indented to be in line with this with. That's something that does need to be stated outright. And here we go. Ew. This is some disgusting content. It is an array of arrays where every child array is a line in the CSV. The first one is the names. So the table names, name, usage, rating, and royal assent. And then from that point onward, we have name, usage, rating, royal assent in that order for every child array. That's a lot to work with. However, we can work with it. Also, I do need to say, when you guys work with CSV on your own, I heavily recommend looking into CSV.dictReader. It returns dictionaries, so it would basically be word semicartus, usage 60, rating 17, royal assent true. It's much more fun to work with. Sadly, that's not what I'm teaching you because it's a bit advanced. I might rewrite it at the end to show you guys what it's like. Okay. Are we ready? Whew. This is going to suck. 4-line in content. Now, do we need the first line? This first subarray really isn't useful. So what I can do is I can start actually at item 1 and go over all of the future items. So now we're starting at sesmetriscus. I'm not even going to pretend I know what that means. And now we get to actually start doing the question. A word is not funny unless the queen thinks it's funny. This is your royal assent variable. So if name is 0, usage is 1, rating is 2, royal assent is item 3. So if line 3 equals true, however, is it true? No, it's a string. It is a string true. You guys do need to notice those little things. So if line 3 is true, we know that the queen has deemed it a funny word. What is next? To calculate the score, multiply the number of times a British comedian has used it. This is our usage column by 5. So we have some sort of word score. This is not score. This is just word score. And what it is its usage. This is line at 1 represented as a number. So I'm going to convert it to a number. Technically, it should be an integer, but we never know what could happen. We are then going to multiply that number by 5. And we are going to then divide by the rating that the Canadians gave it. Divided by, and again, I'm going to use floats because we don't know if there's 4.2 stars. Float by line 2. Now notice point 3. If the above calculation fails for any reason, it can't be the funniest word. Uh-oh. It can fail? What does that immediately tell you guys that we need to use? And there's good reason to say that this can fail because we're using a typecast and division. This can fail. So what do you think we guys need to do? If we need to detect if this is valid, you guys started learning this recently. Raising an error? No, we don't want to raise an error. We want to check if it fails. We don't want to force it to fail. Try and accept, however, that sounds pretty dang good. We're going to try to make a word score. And on exception, we're just going to continue the loop. It can't be the funniest word. So now we have a word score. So, what do you guys think we do now? We look at step 4. So just because I've been doing this already, I'm going to mark off the steps we've already completed. 4. The funniest word is the word with the highest score described above. So, we just need to do a nice and simple if statement. If word score is greater than score, we know that this is the new funniest word. So score equals word score. We're overwriting the max, and the funniest word is now going to be set to be equal to line 0. This is the name of the word, the actual string representation of the word. What do we return then? Well, luckily, we have a variable that keeps track of our funniest word. If I run this now, it's not subscriptable. Now it is. CSV readers are very judgmental. They are very, very, very strict. So I always recommend, if you're working with the CSV library, convert to list. It will save you guys so much hassle. And apparently, the funniest word is pill banging. I see. The funniest word is pill banging. We could look. Where is pill banging? Where do you guys think pill banging is? Pill banging is used 46 times. It got a score of 1 from the Canadians. It has royal assent, so it's 46 times 5 divided by 1.
all of these seem to be divided by some pretty harsh numbers, so that makes sense that pill banging would be the highest score. Okay. Do you guys want me to show you what Dict Reader does? It's either that or you guys get 15 minutes to ask questions. Because I know some of you may actually want to use Dict Reader because 1, 2, and 0, they're crap. So I'm gonna throw it to the class, but the tutorial right now is done. We've done what we need to do. We could also do some fun things, like notice how some words in this are in quotation marks. We could replace these words in quotation marks with more random words. That's something we could do. So your options right now are option 1, we introduced Dict Reader. Option 2, we introduce kind of a Mad Libs replace words in limericks. Option 3, go home. Take your votes. Because what you guys say is what goes. In order to implement this, would we have to upload file? Yes. In order to implement opening a file inside Jupyter, the files need to be uploaded to Jupyter. Now that being said, in an assignment, we will always give you files. When you go to pull a test or an assignment, we can put files in that folder. So when you pull, you will have your assignment and then every file. When you go to submit, you do not delete any files we have given you. You do not rename any files. You just simply submit. On Avenue, you submit using like you'd submit normally. You would just upload the IPYMB. We have all of the files necessary. It is helpful if you upload the files, however, it's not necessary. Does that make sense? You just submit like it's a normal question. You will always have the files you need, though, to work in these questions. Okay. Also, no one's actually voted on what we keep doing. Cameron, if you want to talk to me, just come into my room. You live here. All right. No one's voted. I'm going to introduce you guys to Dictionary Reader. Dictionary Reader, it's really nice. 3. No, you can't vote, Cameron. You're not a member of my class. Okay. I'm going to introduce you guys to Dict Reader since I have a lot of time. Dict Reader is a list of dictionaries where the first line inside my Python or CSV file becomes the keys for all of these values. So ses meters is then bound to key name. Same with modi revged, unconstructor, etc., etc. So if we were to do it this way, not much changes. We don't actually need 1 anymore, because there is no longer a first row. And all of these simply get changed to be royal assent. This gets changed to be usage. This gets changed to be rating. And this gets changed to be name. The question still remains the same, however. So if I comment out this print statement because it's ugly, key error with royal assent, because royal assent is one word. And boom, it returns the exact same answer. However, now instead of messy line numbers, you actually get text-based keys. You can see why this would be really helpful. It makes the code at least a little bit easier to follow, because if we know the structure of this table, then we always have this. That being said, this relies on you knowing these keys. They have to be constant. I prefer Dict Reader, however, to CSV Reader because, first of all, you don't have to do the shenanigans with the 1:, and second of all, you get these nice names. If you can use it, I would recommend using Dict Reader. And because I'm still not getting any votes, I could go over how to Mad Libsify this question. So let's say we want to override all of these words that contain dual quotation marks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep basically everything I have here, but I'm going to do a for-word in line content split via space. And I'm going to create a new line variable in which is going to be what gets appended. So what I'm going to do is for every word, I'm going to check if the first is equal to a single quotation and the last character is equal to a single quotation mark, we are going to change it. However, if it's not equal, so maybe I'll do it like this so I don't have to use an if statement. So if the first or last item is not a single quotation mark, what I'm going to do is say new line equals the word. Oops. Else, what I'm going to do is, or new line plus equals word. You guys probably caught me on that before I even did it, but I saw it. And I'm going to append space. Else, what we're going to do is we're going to say instead new line plus equals, and someone give me a word. Someone just give me a random word that we're going to replace all of these quotation marks with. If anyone's actually still here, since yeah, you guys were all allowed to leave a long time ago. I'm assuming you all left, so I'm going to just pick pineapple. That's fun. So if this does end up working, this should change limerick.txt to have a crap ton of pineapples in it. Or result.txt, sorry. And it didn't because or is not strong enough. I need to use the and. And else method. A programming genius called Bank. He wrote a system to pineapple his. A programming genius called Hank wrote a system to pineapple his bank. When his memory failed him, they nailed him and jailed him. Now his pineapple is pineapple and dank. A beautiful limerick. Ah! Are you only changing the file that is uploaded onto Jupyter, or does this also change the file on the computer itself? So if you're on the Jupyter hub, the files are contained to the Jupyter hub. If you're using a local Jupyter notebook, you are actually changing the local file. I'm going to add an enumerate so I can get rid of that pesky space. If I is not equal to len line content dot split -1 new line plus equals a space. So now this should only add a space if the word is not the last word. So now there's no space there. Good. Whoa. This could definitely get cleaned up a bit. I could do words equals that. I could also actually straight up just do dot split here if I wanted. Actually, I wouldn't do dot split there. I want content still here. So yeah, I'm gonna do words equals content dot split and enumerate words and then words. It's always nice to create a variable to make everything else cleaner. If you really want to see something cool, we can also use something called ternary statements. You guys should have been taught this in class, at least I think. New line plus equals if that, else that. So this would do the exact same thing. List has no attribute split. No, it's not content, it's line content. Boop. And then result, that never changes. And it's still printing pill banging. Alright, my tutorial is up, guys. Yeah, these last couple minutes were pretty lonely, but it just goes to show you that writing files is a very, very powerful, very, very powerful thing, and you guys will need to get used to it. Yeah, Google's your friend. If you ever have questions, don't be afraid to Google it. Don't be afraid to Piazza it. I am technically done. I've got to move on to my office hours. You guys know where to reach me if you need me. Stay safe, guys, eh?